The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast.
If you love the entrepreneurial journey, how about subscribing and giving us a 5-star review? Wherever you get your podcasts, follow or subscribe and give us a positive review so more entrepreneurs out there don't need to feel alone. Thanks. Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. Today I have Natasha Panetta with me all the way from Australia. Hello, Natasha. How are you?
Hello, I'm well, thank you. I feel like when you hear Australia, you're expecting me to say good day or something like that, aren't you? We actually don't speak like that very often.
No, I've never been. It's somewhere that I would really like to go. It's kind of got more intriguing for me as I've got older. Loads of young people are going there now from the UK. So I don't know, what is it about Australia? What's the vibe like? Why are people heading over there?
I think it's a mixture of how accepting and diverse culturally it is. It's also just so beautiful. Like, we have such a large country. So when you think about the variety that we can experience on an hour flight, it's pretty remarkable. Very similar to the UK, how you can jump on a flight and go to Spain or Paris and, travel around quite quickly. We have that here as well. But I think we're just really lucky with that. It's a different lifestyle, a lot warmer than what most experience, I think, which is lovely. 9 months of the year, we celebrate the warmth.
Yeah, no, that is really nice, definitely. So let's talk about your business. Busy Goddess. I love the name.
Thank you.
How did it come about?
Oh, it was interesting. I just had a few clients in the past that had always called me their little goddess and said that I would come in and just sprinkle a little bit of magic like a goddess and, just things would get fixed and done. So when I was creating the new name, it just fit. And it all fell together. And when I think you're doing that, sometimes you don't fight it. Like, things fall in place for a reason, and it really works. And at first I thought, will I be picked on? Will people not get it? But it works really well, not just for women, for men too. They like it.
Yeah, definitely. And you've been going for a long time. How long have you been established for?
So myself in marketing, 20 years. I started the business under a different name just for in between when I was on maternity leave with my daughters. But it was very ad hoc and in between things. And then I decided about a year and a half ago to make this the full-time. So no more corporate role, no more side gig, no more, just completely dedicating to this standalone, which has been the best decision ever.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. So how old are your daughters now?
11 and 6.
Yeah, you got a bit more headspace and a bit more sort of time to devote definitely to that. That's really interesting the way you've managed the growth and the evolution of your business alongside family life. So many, I'm going to say, women do that. I don't interview as many men who do that, although I did speak to a guy yesterday who's just joined our course who in fact is doing that now. His wife is working full-time and he's doing the business coaching to fit around his daughter. So it's changing, definitely.
It is changing. I think they need you more at this age in some respects though. Like, when they're little, they don't have sense of time and they sleep a lot and they just eat and go to the toilet. It's quite, it's more on you. You feel like you're missing milestones. But an 11-year-old in particular, they have different needs. It's a totally different environment. And I call it the 15-minute window at pickup. And if I don't capture that 15 minutes, I've lost them for the day. And I think that's a really important thing to remember, that women who do have corporate roles or who are in big jobs, they miss that 15-minute window. And that's usually that 15 minutes where they just tell you about their day. And that's just verbal entourage of their day. And that's where some really important conversations can happen.
Totally. With my kids, I've got 3. It was usually about sort of 4:00, 4:30 in the afternoon. And they would just, I've worked from home since 1999, and they would just come and sit in my office, and you know what kids like. There's no, oh, mum, are you busy? Mum, is it a good time? They just come and sit and just go, blah. And you have to
Yeah,
be available, don't you? To just go,
you
oh,
do.
okay, I'm just going to stop everything I'm doing now and speak to you.
Well, that happened to me half an hour ago. My youngest just spilled a whole bottle of nail polish over the entire floor and all over furniture. So I had to stop everything and scrub to get blue nail polish, and it just went everywhere. And I was like,
My God.
this is not what I was expecting, to be on my hands and knees scrubbing the floor and rugs and everything. But, it's fine.
Oh,
It happened. It's a moment. But they are the moments that we experience, and those moments don't stop because you've got a client meeting or a deadline or anything like that.
it's true. So tell me about going full time with Busy Goddess. How's it working out for you?
It's going beautifully. So it actually came around because I was in a corporate role I thought I was really happy in. Very big team. I had a really important role, but woke up in the morning to a redundancy letter. And they let go
Oh,
of about
no.
300 people. So when that happened, I panicked a little bit because we had just bought a new home and we were about 7 days, maybe 10 days out of settlement. And
Right.
obviously losing your job means you lose all your approvals and everything. And it was it was one of those moments where I went, oh my goodness, what do I do? So in that
Yeah.
moment, it was a bit of a tailspin. So to cut a long story short, the vendors would not agree to an extended settlement. So they actually took our 10%, which was about $170,000 Australian. And it rather than sit there, and I did have a moment where I did rock back and forth slightly, but rather
Yeah.
than sit there and go into a full, you can't, you just got to get up and keep moving. I called a few girlfriends who would be in that little inner circle that I'm so blessed to have, and just threw around the idea of really changing it and relaunching and really having a niche around having this bespoke experience and having an offering that was very, very different to what we were seeing in the market. And the response I got was overwhelmingly positive. So within about 8 hours, I had 4 clients. Within 2 days, I had the brand and the website live. And it's just grown from there. And I think it was me
Oh,
at first, maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome in there, but being unsure whether or not people would want a smaller style agency, more hands-on approach. And what I really found was since COVID, that is exactly what people want. Businesses
yeah.
don't want cookie cutter. They don't want rinse and repeat strategies. They
No.
want they don't want to feel like it's this Chinese whispers game. And I found that myself being in big marketing roles, because you would speak to an account manager or someone that was in charge of you, and then by the time it would get to the designers or the graphic designers or the ad people that were buying the ad space, it was like the message was diluting and they were
Yeah.
making mistakes. So that's kind of where I guess the idea came from, was to try and avoid that and to provide something a bit different. And I'm really happy. So this last 12 months in particular has been quite a great ride. It's been really good.
I'm really pleased for you. Just described my experience of using a marketing agency. So when we
There
first
you
started
go.
the business, we used a really big one, cost us a fortune,
Mm,
and they delivered, I mean, just awful things that just weren't
yeah.
us. They wrote blogs for us that actually damaged our SEO.
Mm,
And didn't get us anywhere. And we had this account manager that had no idea who we were or what we're about. And you just described it
mm.
perfectly. So yeah, there is a massive need. So what kind of clients do you have? Is there a theme? Is there a niche?
No, and I think that's the best part, is that
Okay.
I actually get really concerned when someone says to me, oh, no, the person I'm dealing with only specializes in law firms. I say, oh,
Uh-huh.
well, that means that your competition is using the same marketing agency. That means they're not really thinking of new and brilliant ideas. They're actually just using the same idea and slapping a different brand on it in a lot of instances. So the
Yeah.
integrity plays a big part. And it's also that I actually go out and I get to know each client individually. I spend time where possible on site, meet their staff, meet their family, because a lot of them are small family businesses.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I actually am an integral part then, which means that lowers my risk of churn of clients because I become part of their business. But also it means that the trust is there. So they don't have blogs written that impact SEO. They don't have anything happen that could be a detriment to their brand. I just find that there were steps missing that I would say are just foundational and crucial steps. And I would have clients call and be like, oh, this isn't working. And they didn't have a Google business page. And it was that the agency couldn't be bothered to drive to where they were and take that extra step. Google Maps can be a little bit peculiar sometimes, and they like to see a video of you walk up someone's driveway and show their front door. It takes 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So it was the foundational steps that got me and the difference it makes. And it's like anything. When I do these seminars, I talk about the 3 leg stool and how if all 3 legs aren't stable, that stool falls over. Works the same in marketing. You have to have that stability and those foundations in place or it just topples over. And I think people are starting to realise that you just can't throw money at these problems sometimes because most of the time, the things that need to be put in place are the free things.
They
and it just takes
are.
you time.
Yeah, they are the free things. You're absolutely right. So every now and again, we test Google ads and we test Facebook ads just to see if, and so to date, none of them have ever worked. But it's the free things. It's the Google business page that, we were told a few weeks ago, make sure you've got over 100 images or videos on there. And that really helps you make sure it's up to date and you keep it up to date and things like that. That's free. Anybody can do that. And it makes
Every
you
time
more
you
easily
post on
found.
your social media, you should be posting on your Google page. It's the same thing. So it's just another social media platform.
Absolutely. And I don't think people realize that at all.
No.
I think, Google business pages, I think are quite new, are they?
They used to be called Google
kind of
Maps. So they've just kind of given them a rebrand. Yeah. But it's also the biggest thing that helps you is the reviews. And that's the thing people just don't realize is how important those reviews are. But equally on the flip side, not to get so caught up if you don't get a 5-star review, because the reality is these things happen and sometimes the better outcomes come from showing how you've coped or reacted or responded to a negative experience that a client's had or a customer's had. And I say to clients all the time, try not to focus too much on it, just focus on those next few because it only takes a few to push them down and to lift your average back up. But it's also a learning experience to go, well, hold on a minute. If they've had a bad experience, if something went wrong, how are we going to internally fix that problem? Because the reality is we all have bad days. Whether it's your staff or your business or something went wrong, it happens in business. You just take it, and most people are very understanding that these things happen.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm searching for a hotel or a restaurant, if it's got 4.5 stars, I'm like, well, that's okay. Because like you say, there are, nobody's perfect at all.
There's always room for improvement.
Yeah, definitely. I would worry if it was 1 or 2 stars. Yeah, but
Agree. Or if there was comments constantly about people having food poisoning, like totally would.
Yeah.
that may make me not want to go there. But I just think for me, a lot of what I focus on is going back to marketing 101, and that's about having a solid media strategy and a mix. Since COVID, there's a lot of fatigue and people are really worn down by Google Ads. And pre-COVID, I had a job that was putting $1 million a month into Google Ads and the return they were making was substantial. So they were on average about $180 to $200 a lead they were paying through Google and it was working for them. Since COVID, no, that does not work as effectively because people are actually really sick and tired of being served incorrect ads that aren't where they're located. And they're very hip to the fact people are paying to be there. So they're actually scrolling down to those first organic listings, which is your Google Maps. That is the organic listing. So I'm not saying people should not do Google Ads by any means. However, what I'm saying is that it's no longer where you can just focus on that.
Wow. You've described my behavior. I never click on the first 3 because I know they've paid to be there. Yeah. Oh my God. I thought that was just me.
No, and females in particular. I don't think men, we're not trying to be stereotypical, but when you look at data, the women tend to are so fed up with being served the wrong thing. So we do tend to scroll down and then see what's down there. we also have found in this last 6 to 12 months that one of the fastest ways people are actually searching for something, so as a search engine, not Google, they're going to Instagram and doing it. So this is
Yes.
why your bio on Instagram is so important for it to be SEO written, because people are actually going on there to find businesses. So everything's changing. It's constantly moving, constantly evolving. That's what keeps it exciting. But that's also what makes small businesses pull their hair out.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at TriCrest we've built a kick-ass culture coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9 to 5, join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there. Yeah, it is, because they just can't keep up. So I want to come back to those 3 sort of pillars, 3 legs of the stool for marketing. Just tell everybody what
Yes.
those are, because I don't know what they are either.
I think they actually can shift depending on the industry and depending on where you are in your
Okay.
business. So I would say that
Okay.
they're not actually set in stone but
Right.
it's more that first step is that foundation. So making sure that you actually have those foundational steps in. So for a new business, that would be your branding, your logo, making sure that you have a website. You have to have a website. I can't stress enough that it is so important for trust and relevance to still have a website. It's not enough just to have social media. You still have to have a website. And in Australia, we have a huge amount of businesses that still do not have websites at all, in particular in trades and services. So that's a really important part. So then that way you can make sure that all those little basic steps are done. So whether it's be Google Maps, making sure your social media is there, making sure you've got a custom email address. You need to make sure your email is a domain email, not at Gmail, not at Hotmail. It actually is not a very expensive process, and it really makes a big difference. And Google needs you to have that for certain parameters as well. And then the other thing is, I think people just jump in. So market research, understanding who your competitors are is important. But one of my biggest pieces of advice is actually understanding where your competitors are not.
Yes.
So where aren't they? Where can, and really looking and delving deep. You've got to have a strategy in place for how you're going to internally handle communication, because clients say to me, oh, but what if it doesn't work? Well, let's flip it. When it does work, how are you going to handle the influx? Because the last thing you want is to put money into a campaign and then actually lose customers because you couldn't care for them. That's the worst outcome that you can have. So I think if you look at those 3 legs, it is foundation, ensuring internal practices, strategies, processes are there, which is a very big thing that small businesses lack.
It is.
And that third step for me is really that follow through. So really understanding those outcomes. So what's the goal? How are we measuring it? Some things can't be measured. So I think it's really about having really open and honest conversations around what is a realistic expectation.
Yeah, that realistic expectation. Yeah, we say to our coaches and consultants, look, it's going to take twice as long to get to where you think you want to get to, but it's the learning along the way. It's like building a house. It takes twice as long, and you use twice the budget you thought you were going to use.
100%. I've been there, done that. Yeah, but what you end up with is something beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And you learn so much along the way, not only about yourself, but also about your clients and your market. And again, somebody said to me the other week, building your own business is as much a journey about learning about yourself as anything. And I think that's absolutely spot on. What have you learned about yourself, probably since you've been gone full time, Natasha?
One of the biggest things for me was that I wasn't very present. So I went back to work when my oldest was 6 weeks old, and I was traveling, not just around Australia, I was international as well. So my husband calls certain periods of our early years as the black hole, because I would leave in the dark, get home in the dark. One of the things I learnt was that it was not filling my cup, looking at the financial numbers coming in, and that being in corporate and having a big job, big responsibility, I am a serial empath. So that can be quite a difficult position when you're managing hundreds of people, because you don't sleep properly at night thinking about, little Timmy and, Sandra and Susan. It's a real mind game. And to tell a serial empath to stop caring is like cutting a limb off. So
Yeah.
I learnt that it's probably best for me to avoid managing large teams because my mental capacity overloads, which means less mental load to handle with my children. And I
Yeah.
think that is something that a lot of good leaders need to understand, is that it's not for everyone. I can lead, I can
No.
definitely do that, but I don't sleep properly, which means that I don't delegate effectively. And I don't want that for myself because I'm not in the time of my life, and my children aren't, where that's an acceptable thing anymore.
Totally. My yoga teacher calls it the season of your life, the current
Yes.
season of your life. And I quite like that phrase. I think
I
that's a
do
good
like that.
phrase.
That sounds better than what I
Yeah.
had in my mind. Thanks.
Season. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yes.
yoga teaches me so much. And the other day when I was at yoga, I only do it once a week. It's nothing major. But I also realized the other week that actually yoga has taught me more about running a business than running a business. Um,
Interesting, isn't it?
and yeah, it is really interesting. I think raising a family teaches you more about running a business than running a business too. And that what you can give to your family and what you can give to your teams, you can't just keep giving endlessly, can you?
No, and I think when you've got a cohort in a team where you actually feel like you're using the same methodologies you do with your toddler with them,
Yeah.
that kind of tells you there's a problem. And look, I'm going
Yeah.
to be the first to hand on heart say I have probably experienced in a few teams a slight sense of entitlement from certain age groups. They
Right.
don't seem to want to put in that elbow grease or start from the ground up, and there's a little sense of laziness. Look, it's hard, and it will only get harder, I think, because we
Hmm.
are unfortunately doing more than we've ever done with working from
Yeah.
home and having flex. There is less of an escape. I can remember back 20 years ago when I worked for Fairfax Media, I only had a desktop computer and no mobile phone. It was still a landline.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock, you left. There
Yeah.
was no contact. You had your job done. If it wasn't done, well, it waited till the next day or until Monday. And I can remember us begging for mobile phones. And now I look back and go, what were we thinking?
Yeah. I know. Why did I
What were we
ask for a
thinking?
mobile phone?
I know. But you just we're so contactable now and there is no escape, but we're also far quicker and more efficient. So I guess the biggest thing for me with doing this is trying to find the elusive balance. It's not always in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
However, I feel like I have more of it now than I ever have because I am now in a position where I can say no and not run the
Yeah.
risk of losing my job. So when
Yeah.
you're in corporate, if you're faced with a client that you just do not have, you have a personality clash or there's just something there, or you can't attend a meeting or there's an event that you can't go to, sometimes you feel like you're almost begging for your life to hand someone over or miss something. I don't have that worry now. And it's
No, you
quite a
don't.
blessing.
You don't. And what I learned a number of years ago is you don't have to tell your client you can't make it because you're getting your nails done.
That's
You
right.
just have to pretend that you're in a client meeting.
Yeah, that too. Well, every meeting for me is a client meeting. I'm in marketing. It's different.
Yeah.
Someone said that the other day. I said, I'm going for a facial tomorrow. They said, market research. 100%.
100% for you, definitely. Yeah, my nail technician has used some of my online courses.
There you
So,
go. That sounds like a tax deduction for me.
and my optometrist has now asked me to come and talk to her about helping her business. So you're right. Even when
Okay.
I'm getting my eyes tested,
You're still working.
I'm
So
still
funny, isn't
working.
it?
It is. That is so funny. I love
It
it.
is funny.
So, is it just you in the business, or do you have associates and freelancers helping you out?
So it is primarily me. So I do all
Yeah.
my meetings, graphic design, website development. So I've constantly kept learning. Even when I was in high level roles, I was struggling when things weren't being coded properly or the graphic design wasn't done. So I kept learning and kept doing courses so that I could actually train. And when I was managing staff, I could say, well, actually, this is probably the better way to do it and actually know how
Mm,
to do it. So that's really worked well for me. What that means is I'm quite exclusive and bespoke. So I get to keep it
okay.
quite in tune in that way. I have a great photographer that I use for high level things. I also do photography for social media. But that's it, really. I don't outsource, because that was the key difference for
Uh-huh.
me, is that the big agencies are constantly outsourcing. And I just didn't want to do that. Like, I could definitely
Mm.
bring on staff, there is no doubt. However, I
Mhm.
want to stay a family business. I have
Mm.
2 daughters that tell me they're going to work in the family business.
Oh,
So I
great.
guess I look at it like that long-term goal of my children growing up, going through school, university, whatever they choose to do, and whatever direction they choose, whether it is, one daughter loves gaming and likes doing that and coding, so
Right.
maybe she'll work down that. She might be doing app development for me one day. Yeah, my other loves photography. So you just never know. Not to. So I think there's lots of options. My husband has started doing a few courses. He's a mechanic at the moment, so nothing at all
Okay.
related. But he's extremely smart. And I said to him, go and do a few courses on digital ads and reporting and things like that. And I think it would be great for him in the next few years to get off the tools and stop being a mechanic, and then he can work for me doing all the reporting and the digital ad side, because it is something that can be learnt. And
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's within our own business, he will take it, he'll do a really great job, and then the revenue stays within our family, which is a positive, I think.
Yeah, it is positive. I really like that. A great family
Hmm.
business. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and there's definitely
And
room
you
for growth, but yeah, it's just choosing which
yeah,
direction to go.
there is. How do you think AI is going to impact marketing and design and things like that? I mean, it is a real genuine question because I have no
100%.
idea where this is heading.
I love this question. I did a bit of a thing on this the other day, because AI is
Okay.
very interesting. I've got a few people I know that have created AI agencies, marketing agencies, where all they do is AI. And I'm yet to
Okay.
see anything come out of those agencies that I think is at a high caliber.
Right.
So for me, with AI, the issue that I face, or we face maybe in Australia, is that a lot of it is Americanized. So a lot of the things that
Mm,
come out of, whether it's ChatGPT or other systems, are not based for Australia. And if they are,
yeah.
it would come out like slang Australian anyway. Um, I don't think that, in all honesty, it will replace. I think it serves a purpose if you're wanting to get some ideas, or potentially asking it what it thinks of a topic that you've written. It's great
Mhm.
for sourcing hashtags. I'll give it the prompts for that. You can
Okay.
chat. You can drop a post or what you're looking to post on Instagram into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, tell me what the top 10 hashtags are for this." That's great.
Ah,
That's a really good one,
okay.
because I don't need anyone wasting time searching for hashtags.
Yeah.
But in terms of AI itself, I went to a big presentation, and one of the heads of media did an AI presentation on how they've actually created podcasts completely using AI.
Really?
And the biggest issue with it is the client has to be able to brief in perfectly.
Oh,
I haven't met a client
okay.
yet that can do that. You have to
No.
brief so perfectly without any error. It has to be briefed in a certain way. It's very technical for AI to actually do what it is that you require. And I think that we'll find that 90% of clients just can't do that, because by the time they are able to work on that brief, they've given up. So I watched him do one live on
Mm,
stage, and he briefed it slightly incorrectly because he was a bit under the pump, and what he produced
okay.
was terrible. Yeah, it was great. It showed the purpose behind it.
Ah.
But yeah, they're saying that they've got people that are on YouTube and on other places or wherever else, and they're pushing out podcasts and different things, and they're completely AI generated.
So they're not interviewing real people, they're sort of manufacturing interviews and putting them out as podcasts.
Yes, yeah,
Oh, I
I
don't know how
know.
I feel about that.
I don't like it at all, and I imagine you wouldn't. It's
Yeah.
very. We need more human connection, not less.
Yeah,
So after
definitely.
everything, as a human race, as a world, after everything we've
Oh,
been through,
see, they
puppy,
wouldn't have my dogs barking in the background if they didn't
mine was
mix
just
with
mine was just scratching at the door before, and I was like, "No, Charlie, no." That's so cute, but it humanizes. So, and this is the issue I face, is that I don't want my children. I have really big issues with this, because I
Mm,
work so much on social media for clients, and I'm pushing social media and ads and different concepts, but trying to protect my kids under 13 from the uses with
yeah,
social media. So it
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I did a story on this, which will come out in media in a couple of weeks, but really around that internal conflict of it. It's a real it's really difficult because the reality is
Yeah.
that when you go into a school and you ask these kids who are under the age that's required for these apps, most kids put their hand up, they have at least two of them. And
Yeah.
most parents aren't
Yeah.
aware. And I was the same. I was like, my daughter doesn't have them. Oh, yes, she did.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
So, it's
do.
really
They do.
tricky. So, and AI is only going to, obviously gives kids more access to things. I worry about content, copywriting. Some of
Yeah.
the facts are not actually factual as well. And I
Yeah.
worry about kids being caught up in that when they're meant to be using their brain. We're already
Yeah.
seeing terrible, terrible outcomes with grammar, spelling.
Yeah.
So it's only, I worry about that level. It's interesting. I spoke to a client of mine who works in sort of policy and the legalities of it all. It will be very interesting in the next 12 months, 2 years, even longer, what our governments do here in Australia versus the UK, etc., to combat things like that and the impacts it does have, in particular when it comes
Yeah.
into schooling and education.
I think, so the research is now out how damaging it is to teenagers' mental health, social
Mm-hmm.
media. The research is also out on how kids in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, the US, and Canada are getting more stupid
Yes.
since the rise of social media, much less intelligent, much less aware.
Didn't help that us poor
And
parents were doing homeschooling for 2 years. I don't know.
no, that did not.
That
No,
didn't
that
help.
really didn't. No, that really didn't help anything. And we also know that it's been an increasing rise, particularly in mental health disorders with young girls.
Hmm.
That data is
It's
now
massive.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, that's the real pandemic, actually.
And we actually have
Um,
tougher laws here in Australia with social media
do
than
you?
anywhere else. We do, yeah.
Yeah,
And we have a lot, but they still break through because a lot of it's still based on trust, like a lot of
it
laws that get
is.
written. So they're only worth the paper
Yeah.
they're written in some respects, which
Well,
is difficult.
you get the behavior you tolerate. So if you don't enforce the law, then that's the behavior you get.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there's a big call now to ban mobile phones in schools, which I think is a really
They've
good
done that
idea.
here. Most of them have
Which
done that here.
I think that's great. I think that's so important because it gives
Well, where
kids
I am
chance
anyway,
to
at a local, we had
good.
an issue last year at one of the schools where kids were actually filming teachers on the playground and creating nasty TikToks, and the police came and sat
Yeah,
all the kids down, and it was full on. So
good,
they are taking it seriously. But my kids, I've
good.
moved schools for them, and they don't do BY. I don't know in the UK if they do bring your own device from year three up, where they meant to bring a device because a lot of the learning's on the iPads or on Chromebooks. But
Oh,
at their new school, they provide all that and keep it at the school, and that
good,
cuts down on the what can be loaded onto it and things like that. So
good.
I think now, in particular, because I am in my own business, I'm home more, I'm more present, I am far more aware of maybe some of the issues that could be arising. And I definitely
Yeah,
don't have it perfected. Like it is tough sometimes. In particular,
yeah,
11-year-olds are not 11-year-olds anymore. What I was doing at
yeah.
11 is nothing on what these 11-year-olds are like now.
No, no.
But it's
I
leading
I
by
agree.
example. Leading by example is
Yeah,
such a huge part, and not
but
just for me as a woman, but my husband. He like and men in general. Like it's so important, no matter who their influences are, to have that to always be led by example and to surround your children with that circle of trust that I have. I am so grateful for who I have in my life now. I wish I'd had that in
yeah,
my 20s. I am so fortunate. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to, yeah, the relationships that I have. I think everything I ever hoped for. So
oh, I'm so
yeah, it's
pleased
a
for you.
lovely time. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
I'm
turning
so pleased
40
for
was
you.
like this precipice of all the good things. Like it's like you go through life and you kind of get rid of the dead weight or you
Mm,
just people you outgrow or people that weren't filling your cup or weren't good for you or people that weren't good for your children. Yeah,
yeah.
it's been a very cathartic experience. I think
Oh, fantastic. Just
that made
quickly
me
going
sound
back to
pretty
social.
tough, didn't it? Just getting rid of
No,
people left
no,
and
no, I
right.
agree. Go back to social media. I think social media is going to become like the cigarettes
Hmm.
of yesteryear, because yesteryear people used to think cigarettes were okay for you and it didn't matter if you smoked.
Mm,
But I actually think kids under 16 shouldn't have access to social media. Their
I
brains are
agree.
still developing. It does so much damage to them. After 16, that's fine. I think they should be made to be, properly approve their age on these apps. And
Well, yeah,
we
they
know
should have to show ID, definitely.
yeah, they should do. And we know the tech bosses don't allow their kids on their own apps.
That's right.
And that tells you everything you
Volumes.
need to
Yeah,
know.
it does.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
with
Totally.
that social media, obviously that impacts, because I have a lot of clients that come to me a lot that say, oh, we're thinking we should do TikTok. And I'm like, no, it's detrimental for your brand. I said, do you know how many high-end brands I see doing these silly TikToks, and it makes you go, I wouldn't buy from them again. I said, doing ads on TikTok, 100%. But doing
Right.
the actual silly videos, no. It's just,
Yeah.
no. It's not. Yeah, I mean, look, I sometimes find myself even going down that, where you just get caught and you're watching thing after thing and like an hour goes past. Yeah, I'm not sure where I find that hour, but it happens.
Yeah.
But I just say to clients,
Yeah.
don't do that one that ruins your brand and reputation because you decide to do like a silly gimmick that's on there. It's not worth it in the long run.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
So
Right.
tried and tested all the way.
If your business had a personality or a character, either who would it be or how would you describe it, Natasha?
Oh gosh, that's a tricky one actually, isn't it? It's such a mesh of character. Well, I mean, I'm my business character personality, right?
Yeah.
So I am the face. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to think on that one longer. I can't give you an answer to that. I know that sounds strange, but I feel like it's just too many things at once.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Maybe
Let
I'm
me
like
ask
an
it.
owl. I don't know.
An owl. Right. I
Yeah.
like that.
There's something about the owl in terms of the beautiful look and everything. It can be quite a violent creature though, but the look, but also just the whole concept of the owl in terms of that knowledge and imparting wisdom. And there's something about that I try and bring into this business where it is about helping people to grow, encouraging, teaching them practices that are lifelong skills in. So it's not just about throwing out some design or a logo. I think
I
maybe
like
that.
that.
Yeah, maybe that.
Okay. Good. And if you were to know what your purpose or your destiny or your dharma is, what would that be?
My purpose, I use the line that aspire to inspire. I use that a lot.
Right.
So
Okay.
I believe my purpose is to help others, in particular women. I've actually had a few instances this year where I've helped women who have been escaping really severe financial and domestic violence abuse.
Right.
So being able to work with them within a group where we've got someone that can help with the finances, someone that can help with legal, someone like myself that can help set them up with the business. It just takes an idea, and that idea can save someone's life, to be honest.
No,
It's not about the money.
That's amazing.
It's not about the money. It's about helping someone to see their true potential, because a lot of the time they've been mentally abused to the point where they think they're worthless, and most of the time they are exceptional human beings.
Yeah.
So I would say I still need to do the other jobs to be able to do that for people. But there is something about that, and be able to hand on heart stand there and go, I helped them.
Yeah.
And to have that person then call you a friend and to be close with you. I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think if you can do that in life, why wouldn't you?
I agree. Wholeheartedly. Yeah. Yeah. You've got the skills. Why wouldn't you? Just share them. Definitely. And
whether
the
it's
clients pay.
sponsorships or anything. Yeah. I do a lot of non-profit work, and I just think, in particular in my local community, I'm always actively involved in different things and participating. And I just think it's not about what you get out of it. It is something that fills your cup. But my mother raised me that it's nice to be nice. That's it. It's nice to be nice.
Yeah. It
and
is.
karma has to come back in some way, I believe. But, again, that's about leading by example for your children. If you show them that it's not always about getting something in return or getting something for good behaviour, because our kids tend to think that they're always going to be rewarded with something, I think it's a good learning habit to get them into.
Yeah, I agree. What a great place to finish. Thank you so much, Natasha. I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you.
It's been so lovely speaking with you. I appreciate it so much.
Hi, this next podcast is with Kelly West from Only Networking. Listen to it. There's an exclusive here about their business, how they're scaling it. There's also some interesting insights into how they were ahead of their time and how they capitalized on that. It's a really positive, upbeat podcast about growth, about inspiration, and a little bit about family values too. Enjoy. Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at TriCrest we've built a kick-ass culture coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9 to 5, join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there.
The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen. Grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey.